Welcome to Lesson 31, our final lesson in the study of the book of Ecclesiastes. The title of today's lesson is The End of the Matter. Our verses for today are found in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 9 through 14. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, with every secret thing, whether good or evil. I had a pat solution for almost every problem, every question, test, quiz, or any other kind of dilemma that arose in my education experience growing up. Just give me the answer and I'll figure out if I'm right or wrong. I still use that faulty formula today. I see these mathematical equations posted quite frequently to trick people. For example, 6 divided by 2 times, in parentheses, 1 plus 2 equals, and I always want to give the answer of 9, but it's actually 1. And in keeping with my maxim of just the answer, please, I'm not going to explain how you get the answer other than the acronym PEMDAS. It stands for, never mind. My daughter has a saying that she will use with almost all my conversations. Land the plane, Dad. I'll be rambling on about some story that she apparently finds rather tedious, and her desire is for me to simply get to the end of my tale. And she will interrupt me in the middle by saying, Land the plane, Dad. I'm somewhat baffled as to why she doesn't want to hear the riveting story of why I collect thimbles and the tales of how I came to be in possession of each and every one. The reality is, I'm quite sure that many a parishioner sitting in the pews on Sundays wishes the preacher would land the plane a little quicker than he does. After all, why take 35 minutes to explain the advantages of telling the truth when you can simply tell them in one brief moment, don't lie? I think people will grasp that. Or how about kids? Do what your parents tell you when they tell you to do it. They don't need a 45-minute lecture on the merits of obedience and the copious examples and anecdotes. Even better, perhaps just jot it down on a postcard and mail it to them. Do you think that's oversimplifying things a bit too much? There are 5,579 words, give or take, 222 verses, and 12 chapters that comprise the book of Ecclesiastes. It takes Solomon 5,530 words, give or take, 220 verses, 11 3/4 chapters to give us the answer to life. The answer is found in verse 13. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Two things. Fear God, keep his commandments. But here's the thing. Would it mean as much without the narrative of Solomon's life, his observations and perspective? For the person who says, just give me the answer, well, perhaps that's all that's needed. However, consider Solomon's book of Proverbs. Without the first 9 chapters, will the last 22 chapters mean as much? Again, if you just want the answers or to simply land the plane, then you are left with more questions. Questions like, well, what if I choose not to do this? Or what if I just do it my way? Now we have a reason. Even with this, people will still choose to find out for themselves what life is all about. Haven't we found to be true what Solomon declared in Ecclesiastes 12:12? My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness to the flesh. We have spent 31 sessions in daily devotionals and read every word in this book of Solomon's. Surely you have came to the same conclusion that I have. We've barely scratched the surface. Yet we have examined in many ways the life of Solomon and have tried to see through the eyes of he who declared was the wisest man to ever have lived. He allowed us to see his imperfect life, his careless living and vain choices. We discovered that what he has said was of a truth when he declared in verses 9 through 11. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. With him, as with us, sometimes these words are like the goad that keep the stubborn beast of burden in line. But they are also like that nail firmly fixed. They hold together with certainty all that is built with them. We may chide and criticize Solomon for poor choices along the way. Yet he learned in the end that all his Creator says and commands are for our good, and with obedience will come blessings. We can do no better than to follow all that God has given for us to do. Did Solomon answer those first two questions posed in chapter 1? What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? And the second, is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has already been in ages before us. In the first and second question, we find the answer wrapped up in his grand finale. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. From the Garden of Eden, through the patriarchs, the law, and into the cross of Christ, what does man gain for all his toils, if not to please God? In all that comes before us, no matter how new it seems, it must be measured by the same standard. Is it that which will come about and then perish under the sun? Or is it that which will bring glory to our Creator? Is it a chasing after wind and a vanity of vanities? Solomon makes a profound statement in his book of Proverbs. In fact, he makes it twice. In Proverbs 14:12 and again in Proverbs 16:15. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon shows time after time this maxim in life. Truly, people will find fulfillment in pleasure, happiness, and drink, as we read in chapter 2. People will seek fulfillment in producing great works with their hands, houses, and material accomplishments of all manner. Money gathered up in great amounts, entertainment of all kinds. They may seek fulfillment in education and the gaining of knowledge. All of this found in chapter 2. And continuing on, Solomon observes the world around in which he dwells. On, and we almost at times want to tell him, land the plane. But he must go on, as we have noted in the beginning, to tell about vanity 31 times of a life lived with sights set only upon this world. Yet Solomon's last statement reaches beyond this life when he proclaims in verse 14, for God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. Just what Paul said 1,000 years in the future of Solomon in 1 Corinthians 4:5. Therefore, do not pronounce judgment before the time, before the Lord comes, who will bring to light the things now hidden in darkness, and will disclose the purposes of the heart. Then each one will receive his commendation from God. And the writer of Hebrews as well in Hebrews 4:13. And no creature is hidden from his sight, but all are naked and exposed to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. And finally, when John declared in Revelation chapter 20, verses 12 and 13, and I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Then another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged by what was written in the books, according to what they had done. And the sea gave up the dead who were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one of them, according to what they had done. My challenge to you is to read this book of Ecclesiastes regularly, as I have done over the years. I believe you will find, as I have, that each journey through this book will yield an abundant harvest, well worth your labors. I have found all of God's Word to be worth all the time and effort that I can put into reading, studying, and meditating upon it. Have you found that to be true in your life? And Lord willing, I hope that you will continue to search for truth in God's Word to guide your life in this life and on into eternity. And may the Lord bless you in that pursuit.